Hello, my name is Parker Patterson, and for my term project, I've decided to design a year-long periodized strength program for a high school baseball team. The goal of this is to build the foundation of their strength and convert that strength into power and speed for the competitive season. Taking a look at the off season, the goal here is foundational strength. We want to build the base for our athletes because it is known a lot whenever, especially as a high school baseball coach or strength coach or whatever, incoming freshmen every year. A lot of the times, these guys are their level of experience with resistance training is slim to none. So, being in that beginner intermediate phase, it's important to build the foundation of strength because if you do that, it makes generating force, power, and explosive speed all the much easier. Um, so, in the off season, we're going to focus on higher volume to build muscle mass and work capacity. As you'll notice right here, we have three sets of 10. Three sets of 10 for these exercises: the barbell back squat, bench press, trap bar deadlift, dumbbell bent over rows, and the barbell overhead press. I selected the back squat and the deadlift to target the posterior chain and lower body force production. Identified this in part two of a movement analysis as it was very critical for the drive phase of pitching and hitting. You'll notice the intensity moves from 65 to 75% over the first 2 weeks. This linear progression forces the body to adapt to increasing mechanical stress. Now we end it with an unload on week 4. This is mainly for recovery. This prevents the exhaustion phase and allows athletes to recover before the next week's cycle. But a lot of these methods, see, I actually I played baseball in high school, and I went through strength programs that were just like this. It was back squat, deadlift, rows, all of that. Like building a strong lower body is very, very crucial for baseball, especially when you're hitting. It's driving the hips and twisting the foot and generating power in your lower body is really what can change how good of a hit you get. Recovery methods that I wanted to discuss for this off season, they're pretty simple and to the point, and that's to make sure that my athletes know to get good sleep and maintain good nutrition. This is the most important aspect of their strength gains. If they get good sleep and they get their protein, they get their carbohydrates, and the good amount of calories, they can put on the size, strength, and power that they need to compete once the season hits. Now, moving on to the preseason, the goal of this one is power, speed, and hypertrophy. Right before the season starts, we want to increase our power as much as we can, get the speed going, explosive speed, and hypertrophy to increase the muscle fiber size as we can get that strength, more and more. I introduced the barbell power clean into this set, as well as a dumbbell incline press. These are explosive multi-joint movements that train rate of force development, which is essential for sprinting to first base and for high velocity throwing. The volume drops to 3 to 5 reps. But the intensity jumps up to 85% around week 3. This high intensity, low volume approach prepares the central nervous system for game speeds. When you're actively playing, this will get you where you need to go. Absolutely. And added some more Olympic style lifts like the hang clean, the power clean. This is to help generate that rapid force production and that power that we need to see. And the recovery methods that I'll utilize for this portion of the season will consist of basic PT methods, commonly seen in high school sports like cold plunges, massage guns, and foam rollers. This can help loosen up those muscles that are under a lot of stress when we're trying to build that speed and power through these Olympic lifts, and it'll help my athletes stay as healthy as they can right before the season hits. Moving on to the end season, the goal here is strength maintenance and, most importantly, injury prevention. Because my athletes will be in season, the main goal is to prevent injuries as much as possible while they retain the strength they've gained through the off season and the preseason. And I kept the heavy lifts like squat and bench press and the power clean. You keep those heavy during like the early weeks, and then you can see the big unload on week 4 to 65%, and this is to maintain that strength that we have gained all the way through the preseason. And I kept these, and I also added injury prevention, like the dumbbell shoulder press and seated rows on Wednesday. Will teach them great stabilization of the rotator cuff and protect the throwing arm. Volume is at its lowest, 2 sets per exercise for the most part. This ensures we don't reach the exhaustion stage, and you want to keep that away as far as possible, especially if we're in season, because you never know if we're going to have a lift on a day of a game or an important practice right before a game. So you want to prevent that as much as possible. And intensity stays at 80 to 85 in week 2 to signal the body to retain its muscle mass. The progression is non-linear here to account for the physical toll of games that the athletes will be playing throughout the week. We peak early in the month and then taper down toward the end to ensure the players are fresh for playoffs. And the recovery methods that I'm going to be using for this portion of the season are as follows. Dynamic stretches and proper hydration. This is key for athletes in season to prevent injury and or heat-related illnesses. Now, dynamic stretches are very important. They're very important for athletes, especially baseball players. Maintaining those dynamic movements and stretches are far better than static, given that they're in season and there could be a game on Monday after, only a few short hours after the lift. Well, probably more like 8 hours, but you get the idea. Going on to the last aspect of this, the postseason. The main goal here is recovery and maintenance, kind of just like the in-season, but slightly differently. See, I understand that, especially in high school sports, a lot of the athletes, or actually most of the athletes, their exercise intensity and frequency is kind of solely dependent on them. They don't meet with the high school strength coach during the summer because the season's over, school's out. I get that, all that kind of stuff. But I make it a point and I make it important to hand my students a take-home handout, pretty much explaining to them the importance of maintaining your strength and resistance training over the course of the summer, because it's easy to get lazy, and if you get lazy when you come back, you're going to find that you lost all the gains that we had. And our main goal here is to maintain a strong series of strengths that continues to build as the years progress, not increase then decrease then increase again. So this is why I have a take-home handout here. These are suggestions for my athletes if they're looking to maintain their strength through the off-season, or the postseason, I mean. They can always refer to this and get their strength gains whenever they want. I chose higher rep ranges, like a 10 to 12, and machine-based movements to reduce the load on the joints while still encouraging blood flow to the tissues. This will keep a great portion of their strength still in their muscles. We don't want a decrease in muscle fiber size. We want to keep it the same throughout the off season, and this is important so whenever they come back for the next season, they don't have to catch up to other athletes, teammates, or even opponents, because there's always a chance that opponents are staying on top of it, and you don't want to lose out on that. The recovery phase is vital for reversing the alarm state of the body after a long season. By dropping to like 60 to 55% intensity, we allow the hormonal and nervous systems to fully reset. This ensures the athlete is ready to restart the macrocycle in the fall without being burnt out or injured. Keeping low intensity high rep will also be a good way to train their muscular endurance, because as you know, it's important not only to have muscular strength but a muscular endurance. And the recovery methods I suggest to all my athletes over the summer will be as follows. It's pretty much a conglomeration of all the recovery methods we've used throughout the season. Proper nutrition, proper sleep, foam rolling massage guns, low intensity exercises such as walking or swimming. I'd have my athletes do these on the days that they do not lift. It can help circulate blood flow and keep their muscles healthy, while also increasing their cardiovascular endurance, which is always a good thing for almost any athlete there is. But that is my periodized strength program. Thank you so much for watching, and goodbye.